how far does that fierce loyalty to family really go? And at what point does that instinct, to protect cross over into something criminal? Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really digging into one of the most, compelling and frankly document-heavy legal sagas happening right now. The trial of Donna Adelson. And this isn't just courtroom drama, right? It's a deep look into human motivations, betrayal, and how the justice system works, or tries to work. Our mission today is to unpack the big charges, take a close look at the key evidence that's been presented, break down the arguments from both the prosecution and the defense, and explore, the bigger picture implications of this trial. And we're doing this by breaking down a whole stack of study guides and trial updates, basically giving you a direct line into understanding this thing properly.
Exactly. And just so you know where we're getting our information for this deep dive, it's primarily from a series of loop court updates and study guides. These aren't just like news summaries. They're proprietary legal analysis documents written by Devin McClarty, owned by D Investment Enterprise, LLC. So they give us this unique kind of curated view, letting us really get into the legal weeds, the narrative strategies. It's like we're diving right into the legal thinking behind the scenes.
Okay, great. Let's start exploring this. It's genuinely a complex situation. We're zeroing in on Donna Adelson's trial, which is going on right now in Tallahassee, Florida. Things have moved pretty fast. Juries picked, opening statements done, and importantly, the state just rested its case. That was after 6 days of pretty intense testimony. So now the defense is about to start to their side. You can feel the tension. So remind us, what are the specific serious charges Donna Adelson is actually facing here?
Right. She's facing incredibly serious charges. First-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation, all tied to the 2014 killing of her ex-son-in-law, Dan Markel. So first-degree murder, in this context, points to premeditation, a planned, intentional act, allegedly. Conspiracy suggests an agreement with others to make this happen, a plot. And solicitation means she's accused of actively asking or urging someone to commit that murder. These aren't just abstract terms, they're the framework the state is using to try and prove she deliberately orchestrated this.
And the courtroom atmosphere sounds, intense. Our loop court documents mentioned the judge, Stephen Everett, had to actually tell the gallery to be quiet, emphasizing how crucial it is that the jury isn't influenced by anything outside the evidence. So, with the state having just rested, what does this charged environment and the judge's warning mean for how the trial moves forward now?
Well, it really highlights the huge public interest and the emotional weight, doesn't it? The judge stepping in like that is a clear signal. The jury has to focus only on the evidence, not public opinion, not whispers in the gallery. For the trial's progress, it means the prosecution feels they've laid out a strong case, what our sources are calling a perimeter of evidence. And now the pressure completely shifts. It's all on the defense to try and poke holes in that under this intense spotlight.
A perimeter of evidence. That sounds pretty formidable for the defense to deal with. The prosecution brought out some really crucial and honestly kind of startling evidence in those first 6 days. Can you walk us through the biggest things our deep dive into these documents revealed about the state's case?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The state's case seems built on a few pillars. First, testimony from 2 jailhouse informants, Patricia Bird and Drina Bernhardt. They both testified that Donna Adelson allegedly confessed her involvement in Markel's murder. And apparently even told him how to lie for her. That's a very direct accusation.
Wow. Yeah, confessions from fellow inmates. That's always fascinating in a trial context. Super persuasive, if believed. But also, they always come under heavy fire about credibility, right? What do defenses usually do there?
Exactly. Potent stuff. But the defense always attacks it. They'll argue the informants are unreliable, maybe looking for deals in their own cases. Opportunistic. Our sources note the defense will likely call these claims brittle, trying to break them down. But beyond that, there's significant electronic evidence. FBI agent Patrick Sanford detailed this. We're talking wiretaps, phone calls, surveillance data, stuff that supposedly maps out Donna Adelson's planning, and even moments leading up to her arrest at the Miami airport when she was allegedly trying to flee. That's a big chunk of the digital trail they claim she left.
Okay, so not just word of mouth from inmates, actual recordings, surveillance, that feels more tangible. It suggests a pattern, maybe intent. But what about physical stuff? Anything concrete connecting her directly?
Yes, one very specific, potentially powerful piece, Donna Adelson's 2014 day planner. Inside it, they found a listing for Dan Markel's car tag number. Now that detail, it seems small, maybe mundane, but it's incredibly precise. It suggests a direct, potentially premeditated link, like she had specific knowledge or was planning something related to him, his car, before he was killed. Hard to explain away easily.
Whoa, that day planner entry from years ago linking her to his car tag. That feels incredibly specific. That's the kind of detail that can really stick in a juror's mind. Our documents also mention handwriting analysis. How does that fit into this perimeter?
Oh, right. That's another key piece. The state brought in handwriting analysis connecting certain notes and scripts documents that look like they were written to influence what people would say directly to Donna Adelson. This suggests, according to the prosecution, attempts to manipulate the story, maybe coach witnesses. It points towards alleged active involvement not just in the initial plot, but in trying to manage the narrative afterward, a cover-up aspect.
Okay, so stepping back from the individual pieces, the informants, the wiretaps, the planner, the handwriting, what's the big story the prosecution is weaving together here? What do they want the jury to believe about Donna Adelson's role?
Well, the narrative they're building paints her as much more than just, say, a concerned mother or grandmother. They're using phrases like matriarch of Miami's elite, and even more permanently, the fount of family conspiracy. Their argument, based on our loop court analysis, is basically that power, maternal instinct, and grief can twist into criminal consensus. They're saying her desire to protect her family, to get custody of the grandkids, went to an extreme, and that it morphed into this alleged murder-for-hire plot. They're trying hard to connect that emotional why, the motive, to the criminal what, the alleged actions.
That really does frame the emotional heart of this case, doesn't it? Our sources even talk about this angle of institutional betrayal, how a grandmother, first seen as maybe just trying to relocate her grandsons, now might be defined by murder. That's a really powerful, almost tragic reframing.
It is. And the prosecution's aim is precisely that. Connect those intense feelings, that protective instinct, the grief, the desperation, maybe directly to proof of guilt. They want the jury to see those motivations not as understandable emotions, but as the actual driving force behind a criminal plan. Fusing the desperation with what they allege was cold calculation.
Okay, so that's a really substantial and emotionally heavy case the state has laid out. Very well documented, it seems. Now, let's flip to the defense. Their job is to find the weaknesses, the cracks, and all that. How are Donna Adelson's lawyers planning to counter this? What's their main argument against such a detailed case?
Their core argument, from what we're seeing in the sources, seems pretty straightforward. Human motive without evidence doesn't equate to guilt. They're trying to draw a very clear line, separating the prosecution's story about why she might want this from any hard proof she actually did anything criminal. They might not even deny the family tensions, the emotional stuff, but they'll argue that motive, however strong it looks, isn't enough. You need concrete proof linking her to the murder plot itself.
Right. So concede the emotional backdrop, maybe, but fight tooth and nail on the actual alleged actions. How will they tackle the specific evidence then? The informants, the wiretaps, that day planner, the handwriting stuff?
Well, their strategy will likely hammer away at credibility, especially for the informants. They'll paint them as unreliable, self-serving, maybe suggest their testimony is brittle, like our sources mentioned, easily broken. With the wiretaps and surveillance, they'll scrutinize everything. Look for innocent explanations, alternative interpretations, maybe question how the data was handled, suggesting the conversations might sound bad, but don't explicitly prove a murder plot. And for the planner and handwriting, they'll probably offer alternative, non-criminal reasons for those things existing, trying to plant that seed of reasonable doubt about what they actually proved.
That sounds like a huge task, given everything the state presented. What should we expect when the defense starts presenting its own case? Will we hear from Donna Adelson herself, maybe character witnesses? What are the biggest challenges they face in trying to discredit all that evidence and push back against the state's narrative?
Our loop court documents suggest the defense case is likely to feature Donna herself or character witnesses. That's a big decision, putting her on the stand. Their challenge is, it's huge. Monumental, maybe? Is crediting jailhouse informants. Okay, that's standard practice. Their motives are easy targets. But explaining away physical evidence like the day planner or the digital evidence from the FBI wiretaps, things directly linked to Donna, that needs a really strong, really believable alternative story. They absolutely have to create enough doubt about each key piece of the state's evidence to overcome that detailed presentation and that powerful emotional narrative the prosecution built.
Yeah, this trial definitely feels bigger than just the verdict in this one case. Looking at the broader picture, what are the deeper implications if there's a conviction here? What do our analytical documents highlight?
According to the loop court analysis, this trial could potentially rewrite boundaries. Specifically, where family loyalty stops and criminal responsibility begins. It forces us to ask, how far is too far when it comes to protecting family? And how does the law draw that line and enforce it? It's a really intense look at how power, that maternal drive, grief, how those powerful human emotions can intersect with alleged criminal agreement. It makes us question our usual understanding of these very personal motivations when they're tied to such a public and violent crime.
And the loop court analysis is tracking some really sharp questions that get right at these bigger issues. They're asking things like, will the jury buy direct motive as evidence? Is the why enough? And can the defense erode the credibility of informants and wiretap testimony? That's the technical challenge. But also, how justice confronts emotional warfare cloaked as familial protection. That last one really hits deep, looking at the psychology and ethics involved.
It does. It goes beyond just legal definitions. It dives into the why behind such an alleged crime, psychologically,
Right.
maybe even societally. And it makes us, as a society, confront how our justice system deals with these incredibly messy situations where loyalty and alleged criminal conspiracy get tangled up. It really forces us to think about those deeper connections, doesn't it, between family loyalty and where the law absolutely has to draw a line.
This has been a really, really fascinating exploration of these documents in this unfolding case. Lots to think about. So, to wrap it up, this trial is fundamentally a clash of narratives, a clash of evidence. The state built this extensive perimeter of evidence, pushing a strong story about motive, casting Donna Adelson as this alleged matriarch of conspiracy, and the defense. They're now preparing to attack the credibility of the state's evidence and witnesses, trying to drive a wedge between any emotional motive and actual proof of guilt.
Yeah, and in the end, this trial really pushes us to think beyond just guilt or innocence in this specific case. It makes us consider the nature of family ties, those bonds, and the lines that get drawn when loyalty, no matter how strong, runs up against the law. It kind of asks you, the listener, what does this case reveal to you about how human emotion, loyalty, and justice all mix together, sometimes tragically?
A truly immersive deep dive. Thank you for breaking down these documents and the trial dynamics with us. Lots to ponder indeed. Thanks for joining us. Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you next time.